Hey everybody, welcome to the Ankerstar Wealth Morning Show in the afternoon with an earnings update for you today. So that's we did it right after the close today. We got three topics for you. First of all, I'm going to talk about something that is interesting to me from an investment thesis, and that's high-speed rail systems. And everybody's like, what? Yeah, I think it's a big money waste. I think it'll ultimately turn out to be a bust. But transportation systems are kind of interesting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about high-speed rail, where it is in the United States, and then think about kind of, is that something we'd want to invest in or not? Then Mike's going to talk about some of the earnings, not only today with some of the big tech names that if you've seen, yeah, there's blood all over the screen today. But a big name yesterday, my personal fave, Tesla, had earnings. And again, Mike will kind of peel that back on where they are and how that affected the stock. So that's what we have for you today. It's a financial education presentation. Make sure you do your own due diligence for acting upon anything you hear in this presentation. And full disclaimer information is available at ankerstarwealth.com. And the opinions expressed are Mike and mine alone. Let's get you over to high-speed rail. What is going on? This is from yesterday. So CNBC is the source here. High-speed rail system from Las Vegas to Southern California breaks ground. Okay, I'm a fan of Vegas. I'm going to be spending more time out there with the child going to school out there. So this is kind of interesting to me. So first of all, let's peel that back just a little bit before we get into the high-speed rail. If you live in a bigger city, transportation is a problem. They're always looking for solutions. We've got the go above ground. Well, we don't really sometimes there's like monorails in Vegas, and some other cities have some above ground stuff. Obviously, going below ground. Traditionally, we've had subways. We've tunneled under, waterways and things. And in Vegas, as well as a few other select places, the Boring Company, Elon Musk, one of his several companies, actually has those, tubes through the ground. We did a show on that probably a couple years ago now, where you take little Teslas and you go underground and stuff. Well, you're always looking for how to efficiently move people so they can be more productive and support different things and be happy and all that. Well, high-speed rail to SoCal is one of them. So this ultimately, $3 billion from the big, there's booted, I don't know how to say that, so I won't even try. There's our transportation secretary. And, this is important to him. We funded a bunch of this in the bipartisan infrastructure law to sort of do these things. And I thought there was a map on where it was going to go here, but maybe that's the next slide. So anyhow, this thing's going in. It's going to be a high-speed rail. So where are there high-speed rails? Well, Europe has some high-speed rails. Asia has some high-speed rails. I know Japan does. I think some other countries do. No expert by any means. But is this the wave of the future for the U.S.? Sometimes it's hard to see when things are the wave of the future. I still think that this is not going to be it. I don't buy it. I don't buy the thesis, but we shall see, right? So I was like, okay, does this train exist? And I was looking down here, maybe this has, there's all these fancy, these are all, when you see something this clean, you're like, okay, these are artist projections, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, this is what it would look like if it actually exists, and how environmentally friendly it is, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, well, does it exist? And it does exist, except it exists in Florida. So I went over, so I'm like, how efficient is this? So I went to brightline.com. I did some tickets, and I was talking to Mike before the show. I'm like, hey, we're going to go from Orlando to West Palm Beach and back. We're going to go down for a couple days, and there's 17 trains found. And then I saw, like, okay, this is round trip for the April 25th. So we're leaving tomorrow morning, Mike, 4:50 a.m. And we're coming back a couple days later. And I looked at this, I was like, whoa, maybe there is a future here. So I don't even know how they're making money at $40 a person, basically. $80, and looks like you get a drink and an apple. It's probably a snack, right? But they got free Wi-Fi, so I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the financials behind something like this, because if they really, maybe that's just your teaser early morning rate, like my favorite flight, the 505 Southwest flight, when everybody else insists on flying more expensive airlines out there. But so okay, you say, all right, midday ish, we're looking $60 to $70, maybe prime time around the end of work at $100. All in all, these are round trip prices. So get you there and back. It's not that far, of course, but maybe there is room for this. So the jury's kind of out. The next question I ask is, can you even invest in Brightline? Because I was going to click on that, pull their ticker, then kind of see the financials of how much money they're hemorrhaging, getting all this stuff stood up. And nope, it's private, so no more information to actually have there. So to wrap that up, I think it exists in Florida, the Vegas to California line. Vegas is aggressive. They're always trying to stand up new stuff there, and they need to get people there. So we'll see. I'm not sure there's going to be the Cincinnati to Austin rail, high-speed rail line going in, but if there is, Mike and I can, see each other by taking a train. That'd be kind of interesting. So, all right, enough on that. Let's get over into some more interesting stuff. Over to Mike with some earnings reports.
Well, I was going to say, with the high-speed rail, if they're following at all the airline model, I'm sure they're going to charge us for every bag we bring on, or we'll get the low-speed internet. We'll have to pay for the faster speed internet on the train. Just some thoughts. Plus, when I think about high-speed rail, you have to buy the land to put the rails on, as opposed to when you fly. Guess what? The air is free, right? So, I don't know, a lot of costs there, so kind of free. Okay, let's get
that's interesting. Now, I did click on it real quick, and you will be charged for your first checked bag. So so it doesn't talk about what a carry-on is and all that, but yeah, you're right. There are some fees behind it. So good point.
Okay. So let's get to some exciting news. So yesterday, Tesla came out with their earnings, and I'll hit the earnings right after this, but want to see the stock reaction. Today, Tesla was up 12%. So that is, obviously from a stock perspective, that's good news. Now they were down 40% before, so being up 12 is certainly a good news. And when you look at their earnings, here was the effect. They missed. They earnings per share 45 cents versus 51 cents expected. Revenue down $1 billion. But here's the key. Musk says we're going to get a production of a new affordable EV model could begin sooner than expected. And for that reason, the markets or the stock went up. And that kind of surprises me, just because as a former employee of General Motors, years and years ago, less expensive cars are loss leaders. Like General Motors, I can't speak for them now, but back then they lost money when you bought that Chevy Cavalier or that Pontiac Sunbird or those smaller cars, but then they try to get brand loyalty so that when you buy the Cadillac Escalade, you're paying lots of money. So I'm surprised in today's EV market, where things are getting more and more competitive, other companies are releasing less expensive vehicles, that by Tesla having new affordable EV models, that would help the stock, but it did. So we can be surprised by things like that. Now, a reason why that we don't predict stock prices at earnings season. So I saw this as I was looking at Meta. Raymond James, an hour ago, releases Meta stock as its top internet earnings pick. And, this is why we don't do this. Because Meta released their earnings 20 minutes ago, and they're down 12%. So if your top internet pick is down 12%, that's certainly difficult to deal with. Why they're down, and this is what's amazing to me, and also probably the reason why you don't want to have your picture, going around in the garden, is
right.
They actually beat earnings. So their earnings are up, their revenue is up, but they're predicting, weaker, first quarter, like a light forecast, and their stock is down 12%. And so remind me, Steve, never to have my photo, frolicking in the garden against Meta shares sink 11% like Mr. Zuckerberg here.
I will quickly remind you if I ever see that picture.
Other earnings that are out, I haven't done a lot of analysis, and we do not hold a position in Meta directly, but we do have Meta as far as a part of some of our technology leaders, and certainly they are a tech leader, and I don't expect that their earnings are going to pull them down long term, but the market can overreact in the short term. But one company that we are very interested in is ServiceNow. They're down 5% with earnings after close today. That's a slight drop. Haven't had a time to analyze that one yet. But real exciting, and I like to see this, is Chipotle. After we talked about Chipotle, we haven't included them in any models, but with their earnings, they're up. Burrito sales up 5.4% in the first quarter on top of their 50-for-1 stock split, and they're up 3%, which is like $96. So,
Yeah.
so what's the effect on this? Some of these stocks were in, some were out, things like that. But we are affected overall because, we are in overall technology space when even if a Meta or Tesla and they come out with good news, it improves people's confidence and overall technology will go up. And I'll show you with these earnings, as you might expect, tomorrow's pre-market is already down. So, right now it's down. Who knows what else will happen as the day goes on. I can see in the screen in the bottom there that IBM is also down today. So, you could expect that tomorrow will probably start off in the red, but once again, reasons why we don't predict right on earnings. And if you looked at these stocks earlier today, before their earnings, you couldn't detect anything. I didn't see Meta go down during the day. It just dropped after hours. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Steve, and high-speed rails.
Yeah, that is, now we're done with a high-speed rail for the day, but earnings are interesting. You go and bring that down, Mike. With earnings, there's the top line, bottom line, and then the forecasts. And so, the revenue, of course, is top line and earnings is bottom line. That's generally what everybody's looking at. But that forecast is the interesting part. And that's where the CEOs get to talk a big game. Well, who talks a big game better than Elon Musk? Nobody. Who doesn't talk all that great ever? Zuckerberg, right? I mean, he's getting better. Been highly coached. But really, when you look at, that's why the cone of silence, I mean, the secrecy, everything, nobody knows going into these things. So it's a valid point. Since Tesla's is up, I do have to, feel inclined to say that there are a lot of people that have asked me about Tesla with the robo-taxi thing. And he did talk about that during earnings last night during the conference call, excuse me. And it's just like everybody's like, yeah, what if we do have these robo-taxis everywhere? And I'm like, yeah, okay, so that means it's not a car company. So robo-taxis aren't cars. If they are cars, which they actually are cars, then again, I think the stock comes right back down. So I do think that was a one day, good on them for today. Congrats to everybody in Tesla. You get to be right today, up 12% or whatever. But I think you're going to slowly see that leak over time. And you're right. The big earnings players like a Facebook for sure, Meta, is going to carry a hangover into that market open tomorrow. So we shall see.
Maybe
a lot more.
Hey, Steve, here's maybe an idea for Zuckerberg. Maybe he could have Jesse Eisenberg speak for him at the investor conference, since he played him in the Social Network.
And he speaks 10x times faster than anybody else can speak. So, all right, that is good stuff. With that, we're going to let you go. We are going to try to get back tomorrow morning on the morning schedule for our morning show. And with that, we will see you guys back then. Talk to you soon.